Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video, where we have a big change at the lot that we're going to talk about first thing in the video. Also at the lot, we're going to be having some guest workers while Phil's hand recovers from surgery.
Yeah, I went in Friday and had my hand worked on. It's not related to working on the boat, and I'll talk more about that at the lot. But basically, I can't work for a few days, so I'm going to bring in some friends and family, actually Brian's family and my family.
Yeah.
And they're going to take over for me, and I'm going to be the annoying supervisor who keeps telling them what to do. So that's my plan for this week, at least the beginning of the week. Now, towards the end of the week, we're taking off a little bit more days, but this time it's an official American holiday, and we're going to get together with some family, and Marianne's going to cook up a big meal and all that stuff. So you'll get to see a little bit about that as well. So let's go ahead and get over to the lot, and I'll talk about that big announcement. Well, it's Monday morning, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about last week, because last week was an interesting week. We only got a couple of days of work done instead of our normal 5, and that was because of the rain that we mentioned, for one. And you can see the hulls are still covered, and it was because I just got here. The weather people, not surprisingly, got it completely wrong. They forecasted 3 inches of rain in 4 days, where it was supposed to rain on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Just a heavy amount of rain. There's all kinds of news things about this. So what happened for real? Well, Wednesday, for about most of the day, I would say, it was a very light rain. And Thursday, Friday, and Saturday were gorgeously blue skies and sunny. Yet they kept telling us it was going to rain. And so we couldn't come work because we didn't want to uncover the stuff when it was going to rain a few hours later, except it didn't rain. And then the next day, same thing. We couldn't come work because we'd have to uncover all this stuff and then cover it again when the rain was going to come, and it didn't rain. And then it didn't rain Saturday, same thing. All those days we could have worked. And it's purely because the weather forecast was completely off base. But that's not the only reason that we didn't work. The other thing is that on Friday, I had to go in for surgery. And that was on my hand right here. And what I had was what's called a trigger finger. That's when your finger will only go down so far and then it stops. If you push any further, it suddenly releases, and it's very painful. Now, this isn't due to the work on the boat. I've had, on my ring finger of this hand, I had trigger finger several years ago. I was never working on a boat at that time. And I had an operation on that one to get it fixed. And so now it was my middle finger, and it just kept getting worse over many months, to the point where it was making it difficult to work. And so I had to go in and get surgery on that, which is all done. And you can see that surgery was on last Friday, and it's only Monday, and already my hand is getting pretty good. Certainly by the end of this week, Certainly by the end of this week, I'll be back to our normal work schedule. But for the next 3 days, we're going to have guest workers in to take my place, and I'm just going to supervise a little bit. So we'll hopefully have Brian's brother Dale and our friend John in to help Brian, so that he is not alone working on this stuff. So that's where we're at. But that brought up yet another thing, because the problem there is simply putting these tarps up and down. And we have a very large winter coming. It's not going to be a normal winter, at least according to the weather people. I say that because, you know, it may not actually come true based on what we just went through in the last 4 days. But The El Nino condition is supposedly going to bring Southern California a ton of rainy days this year. And certainly the weather reporters are going to report it's going to rain, and we'll have to pretend that that's actually going to happen and prepare for it each time. That means it would cost us a lot of days, even if it doesn't rain. So what that means is we have to make a change. And we had a big structure up above here, but it was just the wrong kind. And it collapsed because of rain gathering and it was too flat and such. And so what I've decided is that we're going to buy a dome tent that the rain will run right off of, that can stay up permanently. And that would mean if we had that up right now, we would have worked these last 3 days, since we wouldn't have had to take anything down or up. We would have looked out, said, hey, it looks nice, let's go work, even if it's going to rain tonight, because we wouldn't have to take anything up or down. So we're going to construct that. And the problem is we need this open space that you see right here to put it up, because I'll have to bring in a scissor lift to raise it up, and it has to be able to come down the middle. So that means the bulkheads can't be in. And those bulkheads are going in soon, and I mean somewhere in the next 6 weeks. So that means I can't order this from China, because by the time it came by slow boat from China, it would be too late, or delay the project, and we wouldn't be able to put bulkheads in. And I really don't like anything delaying the project even a day. So that means that I have to get this locally, which means that generally that's more expensive. But fortunately, I found one in the United States. It's not in California, but it'll be here in the next 10 days, and that's before we need it to put the bulkheads in. That's plenty soon. So about 10 days to 2 weeks from now, we're going to be putting up a large dome structure over this. It'll stay up for the next 2 years, and we won't have to take it up or down. So that's sort of the big news. Now, I know that we've had users who've been complaining about us not having one of those, and I pointed out that that's not in our budget, and it isn't, which means that this is going to put us a little bit over budget to get this up there. But it is 2 years of use for both rain and shade and sun protection on the boat, and I'm just going to have to get the money for that some other way. We'll have to make some along the way. So I guess I'll be back to writing some more bucks. But we're gonna put it up, and that's coming pretty soon. So today we're gonna get back to work on the hulls. So first thing is that Brian and Dale are gonna put the shade tents up that we have, so that for the next couple weeks at least we can continue working on the hulls. We don't need that thing yet. And then as soon as it gets here, we'll get a scissor lift and come out and start putting that structure up. All right, so that's your briefing for Monday morning. And there you have it. Our crappy shade back up again. That crappy shade will be going away in
Is that a technical term?
a couple of weeks. Yeah, it's a technical term. But all we need it for is just a little shade for some sanding and fairing that we're going to do in the next 2 weeks. And we're trying to finish these hulls up completely in those next 2 weeks. This one, our port side, is going to be done. It could be done today, because it's just got maybe 9 little spots we have to sand, and that's it. It's done. This one, on the other hand, we have to sand the entire hull, and then we'll inspect it for what the next round is to see, do we need to do a full round again, or do we do patches? We'll see. And we won't know until we've sanded it. So Brian's taking down a ridge that's along the stern there, that's on the corner with the flap disc, but he's only taking it down till it's almost all the way down, and then Dale will use the flexi sander to smooth that end of the hull out where it can match the curve perfectly. And you can see that once he's done this is maybe 2 minutes of sanding here. There is no orange peel now. It's perfectly smooth. No pitting or holes in it at all that someone was concerned about there. It just comes out wonderfully. Way to go. Keep going. So Brian and Dale are switching off between the flexi sander and the torture board. And while one goes down one side of the boat with one, the other one switches to the other side. And then later they'll reverse that around again and have the torture board on the opposite side and the flexi sander on this side. So they do use different muscle groups, so it's good to switch back and forth. Yesterday, Brian and Dale managed to get the entire hull sanded on here. So we're getting ready to have Dale blow it off with our compressor, get this dust off of here. And that's the way we can get to our next patching portion of this. While he does that and gets this hull ready, Brian, over here, is going to sand these fixes we did where these dark areas are here. And there aren't very many of them. I think there's maybe 9 or 10 of these that he just is going to sand this. Because this hull is pretty nar finished. And we just need to get a little bit of sanding done on this today. This won't take him very long because it's a very light coat. And this one's just about ready for paint.
So we made the decision that we're going to go ahead and put the third round of fairing compound on today. At least Dale and Brian are going to. And and so once he finishes blowing this off and Brian's finished sanding, they'll then go ahead and wipe it down one more time, but this time with alcohol. And we've also decided that let me show you this at the back. Not so dusty back here because he's going that way. What we decided was I came through and I started marking all these black circles of the places where we need to put more material and fill. And what I decided was there's just too many to do just spot fixes. So we're going to do another full round, although a lot thinner than this one was. But we're going to do another full pass on this. And that'll fill in a lot of these different ones, which are just little small things like, I'll show you here, like just a little divot right there. Here's just a little bit of a low spot. So anyway, Brian's going to trowel it. Dale's going to mix because again, this hand is really incapable of holding the trowel or stirring. So I'm going to have to let those guys do the work today, but I've got a plan for them, and so they're going to do half of the boat before lunch and the other half of the boat after lunch, and then we'll see if it sets up enough for sanding tomorrow. It's a very thin layer, so it might. We'll see. So here Brian's moving along pretty swiftly on these little spot sands we had to do where we did those very light fixes. Like I say, there's not much there, so that'll go pretty quick. I'd say he's probably got about an hour to fix up the whole boat on that side. Well, the whole canoe. And then they could get to fairing the starboard side as well. So I'm going to leave them to it, and I'm going to head out because I got some work to do. I've got the video to edit, and also I'm ordering up our tunnel tent, and we've made another decision on that. I had an option between a 40-foot or a 30-foot. And the problem with a 40-foot is, let me show you. The problem with the 40-foot is between the orange shipping container over there and where those poles are currently over there is about 30 feet. And the boat's 25 feet wide. But that doesn't leave a lot of space on either side of the hull, particularly on this side, because the poles have to be pretty much where they're at. So our issue is that it's only going to leave that much space down the side of the hull for work. Now we're going to change the poles a little bit and make them a little bit more vertical than they are currently. So that'll give up a little bit of space there. And then we're going to cheat the whole thing over just a little bit more to give us just a little bit more space. Because there's plenty on this side. This side can come over some, and you can see down on the cement bed that there's space over to come over. So we'll cheat the whole boat over here. This distance will get a little bit smaller, and that'll give us a little bit more room between the poles in there. And that allows us to go with a 30-foot 10. One of the nice things about going with the 30-foot over the 40 is it's a steeper arc going up because the actual tunnel is taller than the 40-foot one. And so it makes the side steeper, and that'll give us a little more room walking up and down the side decks as well. So we like that. So it looks like that is what we're going to order. I'm going to go and take care of that, do a little business, and then I'll edit some on the video coming out next week, and leave these guys to doing all the hard work. I get a break, yay! All I had to do was go in for an operation, which is not my recommended method of getting a break from work. This is my cousin Todd, and he's over here filling in for Gimpy Phil. So we had him trowel.
Handyman for the bad hand.
He's handyman for the bad hand. Anyway, so I had him trowel on another layer of our fairing compound on the porthole, and we're doing a light round on the starboard hull because this is number 4, and we've got this thing pretty rounded. So we're just filling in very small aberrations in it, where we might have a little bit of orange peel that we couldn't sand down far enough, or a small little gap somewhere. But realistically, it's pretty round right now, and this is after only, like I say, this is the 4th round, so we're doing good. And we'll be doing, no doubt, a 5th, but this one will get it maybe at 80-85% finished, so that's pretty good. So let me show you down here. We look right down the hull here, and don't look at the shiny and dull spots there, just the roundness of it. You can see that this is very nice in here now. So I can't run my hand on here because it's uncured, but it is very smooth down there. So we're marching on down. Brian's over here mixing. Big slope. And Todd's coming down the hole applying. And so if we could teach Todd not to put his apron into the side of the boat, it would be nicer. Well, it's Friday, so it's been about a week since I had my operation on my hand. And so I'm back to work. We had the stitches out last night, and it's healed up pretty well at this point, so I'm not too concerned. I'm just wearing a glove to keep the dust off, but really it's not really a problem anymore. So we're back to sanding, and I started up at the bow here today on round 4, and I just wanted to show you that round 4 is coming out pretty damn good. And I just wanted to show you a close-up here of just how perfect this sands out. There are no pinholes, there are no holes, there's nothing. This is absolutely perfectly smooth now. So this is really coming out well, and we're only on round 4, so the other one is 12. We think this one's gonna be done here in 1 or 2 more, and those will just be some patches, because technically this is already perfect right here. And same thing here. So round 4 is, I'm going to say that this part that I've sanded so far, and hopefully all the rest of it, this is probably about 90% right now. So we've got very little to fix on this hull after this sanding's done, but this is going to take a while. I've been sanding for 2 hours from the bow to here, and that's about 15 feet on just one side. And the reason this sanding is taking so long is the previous rounds of sanding, we were only rough sanding it because we knew we were putting a whole layer over the top again, so we're just getting the high spots down and such, and roughing it up a little. But now we want to take this to, in essence, finished, and then that will tell us. After that, we can really check and see if there's any very tiny, and I haven't found any right here, but if there were any spots that needed any kind of additional epoxy on them. But so far, this is coming out
beautiful. So we're treating this as a final sand, so we're making it really nice. That means it's going to take us all day today and probably all day tomorrow to sand this entire hull to perfect. And so then we'll check it to see if there's any repairs, and there will be, but there'll be very, very, very few. We've been sanding all morning. I didn't bore you with watching us do that, but I just wanted to mention that this is round number 4 that Todd, you saw putting on the fairing compound while my hand was still incapacitated. But we've just finished sanding the entire boat yesterday and today, so I just got to here, and we have great news because our objective was to do this in far fewer coats than the port one, and this is number 4 application, and it's pretty much done. I say we're going to do a 5th application, but it's just going to be those little spots. We're not going to do any serious amount because most of this is all perfect now. So that means we did this one after we do those patches in 5, and that other one took 12. So a lot less rounds of sanding and application, so a lot less work and a lot faster. You know, hindsight is 20/20, as the saying goes. And if we had that one to do over again, we would have done it this way. So, but you live and you learn and you work. It's our first fairing of hulls, so you know, we learned our lessons over on that one, and we applied what we learned to the second one, and it saved us a lot of work. So what that means is, this is Saturday, and Monday we will apply the few little patches I just mentioned, and then Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on if it's set up enough, probably Tuesday we'll sand it. But also on Monday we're going to sand the port hull because we already did its final patches, and we just need to sand it and it'll be done. So that means that we'll sand that one on Monday, we'll do the patching, and then on Tuesday or Wednesday we'll sand this one, and then both of these holes will be done somewhere around midweek of next week. And done means they're ready for barrier coat. And we'll start putting on our barrier coat paint. It's an epoxy, but it's a barrier coat, and that all has to happen in one day, all the layers in one day. So you put a layer on the whole hull. When it gets tacky, you put the next one on, and you do however many layers are required. I believe it might be 6. I'll look it up on there. Because we're using Total Boat. They're one of our sponsors, and we're using their barrier coat product. So that's going to happen late next week. We're going to be painting one of the hulls, and we're going to do one, not try to do 2 at the same time, because I want to find out how much of the Total Boat barrier coat I need to purchase. So we already purchased some, it's waiting, but I doubt it's enough for 2 hulls, but it's enough for one, and we might have extra left over, so that'll tell me how much more I need to order for the second hull. But it only takes 2 or 3 days to get here. So we'll paint one, 2 or 3 days later we'll paint the other hull. And after that, we're going to get to copper coat on both of them. So these things, at that point, they're ready to flip, and things are going to really pick up on this boat as far as visual change, because the boat's going to start getting assembled at that point. So we're getting really close to that now, and as boring as the amount of time we've spent fairing and sanding these 2 canoes is, it's nearly over. And we'll be moving on to assembling much more of the boat pretty soon. So that's a little bit of an update on there. So I'm going to get back to sanding. Now, I said we sanded the whole hull, and we did, but I want to do some more sanding on a few spots where I can feel along and go, it's not perfect right there. This part is perfect right there, but there are a few spots where I want to fix up. So I'm going to do just a little bit more sanding. Got my earplugs in, got my mask on, gloves. I'm back here at the lot. It's Thanksgiving, and that's an American holiday if you're not familiar with it. And usually you get together with your entire family and eat until you pass out. I've mentioned that before. And we're about to go home and do that. There's all kinds of food cooking. The Admiral's been cooking since yesterday. And why am I at the lot if it's a holiday? Well, the reason is because I want to talk a little bit quickly about our beds. So what's odd about the beds in our boat? Well, there's going to be 4, and we had to make these beds extra long. In fact, when I talked to Schoening about it, I told them we need to extend the length of our beds, and they said, why? These are made for normal adults. And I said, because I'm going to have people who aren't average normal adults on my boat. In fact, what I'm going to have is 2 of my nephews, Luke and Ben, and they are going to be about 6'8" and 6'9". So here we have Luke and Ben. Wait. Here's Luke and Ben. They're not 6'8" and 6'9" yet, but they're going to be based on many factors that the doctors figure out. In fact, they could get as tall as 6'10". So they're going to be big boys. And when you're on the boat, what do you guys want to do?
I want to go scuba diving.
Kite surfing.
And kite surfing.
He forgot.
I want to scuba dive.
You do want to scuba dive. You want to jump off the boat? Yeah. Are you guys going to come and have fun?
Yep.
And you go all over the world with us?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to make those extra long beds so that you fit. All right. And I mentioned that we get together with family for Thanksgiving. So I have some of my family, and they're going to come on in and just to say hello to all of you. And so here we have Kiana and Joe. They're the parents of these monsters. Well, they're going to be monsters, and I don't mean that in they're monsters as far as they're normal boys, but they're going to be big ones. I'm going to feel short, but you can see we're a tall family. How tall are you, Joe?
6'5".
6'5". They're going to be much taller than Joe over there, and of course my sister and her husband Mike. So we're all going over to my house and do our Thanksgiving. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
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 And let's not forget to thank all of our patrons for their kind support of the SV Lynx project. So thank you for your donations.
Yes, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
And in our next video, we're going to do something new and exciting. We're going to finish up sanding and fairing those hulls, meaning we'll be done, because we're going to get to putting on the first barrier coat by the end of the week. So, and I'll also fortunately be back to work then as well. So we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.